let's talk about Phil Foden. Since returning from the World Cup, Foden has only played 37 minutes in 3 games for City, as Guardiola has preferred to deploy Grealish on the left and Riyad Mahrez on the opposite flank. Let's hear a bit of what sort of Pep had to say, not necessarily directly to Foden, but some people have maybe put 2 and 2 together here when he spoke about poor body language.
Lately, maybe I can get old, I look the body languages in the training sessions and everything. Because you cannot play good when the body language is not correct. And sometimes I choose the players for the body language, how they train, how happy, how help, how they are there. And this is one of the main decisions when I choose the lineup, the body language of the players. With the skills, I know how good they are. And they know what they want to do. But the body language depends on them. And sometimes they are not good. After it's more difficult.
Funny, Dan, isn't it? Because you were saying earlier about Liverpool, obviously didn't mention no names, but some players maybe feel like they're undroppable, where with Pep, you feel like anyone can get dropped because they've got so much strength and depth. So if it is Foden on the bench and you're thinking, well, Foden on the bench, well, Mahrez and Grealish can play. Although I think Foden is better than both. I think he's a fantastic talent. They've got so much depth in those wide areas where you're able to maybe not play Foden if you feel, and again, we're not sure this was about Foden, but if you feel like the body language isn't correct.
Well, he seems to, with the wide players especially, give them runs of games. I think I remember earlier in the season, Grealish not featuring for at least 4 or 5 games at one point. And Mahrez, who was top goal scorer last year, I think. Is that right? Yeah, Mahrez, top goal scorer last year, hardly played at the beginning. And you're thinking to yourself, I remember thinking to myself, if I was Mahrez, I'd be absolutely fuming. I was top goal scorer last year, now I can't get a kick. And he seems to do this. Now, I quite like what he said about the body language. There's no doubt that Foden's a wonderful talent. No one's questioning that. And he's probably fuming he's not playing as much. There's no doubt Grealish is a talent. I would have Foden in, more. I would use him more because I think he's that good.
Over Grealish?
Yeah. But I also like Jack. I think he's actually, the last few games, he's put himself about. He looks like he's hungry for it. But going back to the original point, what he said about body language, I like that a manager of his elite level, even with top players, is saying, I need to see it in training because none of you are above being maybe Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
But even had a little go at him earlier in the season. I like that mindset that Pep's got because it keeps everyone on the toes. Now, you could argue that some players, I could give you examples of players who would always turn up match day, irrelevant of how sharp they were in training or body language. But most are better when they're at it in training. Very few can be lackadaisical in training and brilliant every match day. There are some, but not many. So I like the mentality he's got. And if Foden, to be fair, who we all love, I'm surprised that, I know he didn't use his name, but if he's saying that Grealish and Mahrez are at it a bit more in training, then fair enough. Do we need to see a bit more from Phil? His numbers are good.
Look, generational talent.
Numbers are good.
I just looked at his numbers, actually. His numbers are good. And obviously, he absolutely terrorised United in the derby. But for me, I've said it before, and I got a bit of stick from Man City fans, so the tin hat's on again. I think there is more from Foden. And that is, in some ways, that's a compliment. Because I think he has the ability to be world-class and win games on his own. I don't think we see that enough at Manchester City. And we certainly didn't see it enough for England. And I know Gareth Southgate got a lot of stick at the start of the World Cup. Why is Foden not in the 11? I mean, even in that game against France, did Foden really take the game by the scruff of the neck? Did he really produce a standout performance? I'm not sure he did. He looks to me a player who at the moment is not playing to his full capabilities. And maybe that's the point that Pep Guardiola was trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, look, competition for place
just based on numbers, because we're talking about, go back to the Evan conversation.
Yeah, 9 goals in the Premier League, I think, this season.
Yeah, I would play him ahead of
Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
Grealish seems to be having that relationship, though, with Haaland.
He does,
doesn't he? And I think Pep...
I mean, look, come on. It's a bit like, I don't know, choosing between you two. It's both quality people, both good at the job. I mean, how could you choose?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.